Hello everyone, welcome back to Mad About Cards and Crafts. Today I'm sharing a card using products from Papertrey Ink. All of these products will be listed below and they are available in the store. Right now I'm showing you the inks that I'm using and this beautiful Botanical Bounty stamp set. I'm going to start by stamping the floral images 4 different times in 4 different colors. So I'm going to lay these out on Nina 80-pound cardstock, and I will start with Harvest Gold, I believe. I believe it's Harvest Gold. So I'll start with the Harvest Gold, and I will stamp those a few times just to get some good depth of color. I hadn't used these in a while, and I decided just to go ahead and to make sure that that ink adheres really well to use my microfiber cloth. So this actual card, there's 2 of them, are part of a swap that I have participated in with the Papertrey, Love Papertrey Ink Facebook group, and so it was to create 2 cards that were identical or similar and send them to 2 recipients. And I decided that I wanted to use this particular floral set. That is Spring Rain that I used, and I only stamped that once. I wanted to keep it fairly light. And so yeah, the recipients, I mailed these off, and the recipients should have received them by now, so I'm going to go ahead and post this video. I am now stamping with Winter Wisteria. So Winter Wisteria was my lighter color on this. And so I have all of these stamped now. I'm going to clean off my stamps, and then I'm going to stamp one last time with Hibiscus Burst. I love this color. I just love this bright pink. And I wanted to create something that was bright and spring-like. And at the end, or you already saw at the beginning, it did turn out to be a very pretty spring card. So I'm going to clean these off, and then I'm going to take them out and put them away. And then I'm going to come back in with, there's just a couple pieces that have centers to them, and so starting with the Hibiscus Burst, I'm going to stamp Raspberry Fizz, and all of these inks are from Papertrey Ink. I initially thought that I was going to use the maroon color or the burgundy color, and I changed my mind and went with the Raspberry Fizz instead. So I'm just stamping these, and then I'll go back in with the next one, and this was the quickest and easiest way to do this. And then I go over and I cut them all out with my die cutting machine. That second color is Amethyst Allure, and now I'm going to go in with the Blueberry Skies, and lastly I'll come back with the Bright Buttercup. And there you have it. Those are all 4 of the flowers that I'm using. I knew that I wanted to stamp more than I was going to need, and so I could put 2 cards together and I would have several left over for another card. Now I'm going to stamp some of the leaves, and these first ones, the upper left hand corner is going to be green parakeet, and the bottom right is going to be new leaf. And I will stamp these a few times. And then I'll come in with another stamp, another leaf stamp, and that one will be stamped in spring moss. And I think I stamp 3 of each. I probably could have used 4, but I didn't have room on it. What I did is some of these leaves, like the one on top, needed to be cut with the dies, and then the two that are in the middle, or the ones that are in the middle and the bottom, those ones I just put in my scan and cut because it's much quicker than lining up all of the dies. With the florals, I had to use the dies because there's a lot of open spaces, and I would have wasted more time trying to fill in those spaces with pencils and erasing and all of that other stuff to use it in my scan and cut. And that's, that's something to always keep in mind if you're thinking about buying a scan and cut when you want to buy dies, is to look at the image or the images and see, just how much open space there is. See, the top leaves are not connected, so the scan and cut is not going to recognize all of that, and you're going to have to go in with pencils. These are the Hero Arts Infinity rectangle dies, and I am just going to cut a frame using the Blueberry Skies paper from Papertrey Ink, and I'm just kind of lining up this grid and trying to get these semi-centered so that I can get an even frame. I'm going to use my purple tape that I've cut into smaller pieces and then carefully lift it up and go cut those two pieces out. All right, so now I have cut out that background die, which is also from Papertrey Ink. It is called Bold Borders Polka Dot die, and I'm concentrating the ink on the outside edges, the middle part of the frame, and then I just add a few dots here and there. When I add the flowers to this card, there's going to be more glue, and so that will help keep all of those pieces down. That is a piece of Bitty Big Blueberry Skies cardstock, also from Papertrey Ink. And now I'm going to put that frame on, and I just put the glue directly to that frame on the edges, and then I lay that Blueberry Sky frame down. So you'll see in the final picture that the second card, because of the orientation of the paper, I just used a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of that Bitty Big paper. The stripe pattern is going to go in a different direction. This is one of my favorite Papertrey Ink sentiment dies. It's called Big Hugs. There's, I believe, 4 or 5 in that set. And for that Big Hugs, I will cut it out a total of 3 times, and I will ink blend on the top of one of them, and then I will come back and glue the other 2 pieces to it. One of them ends up being just slightly offset, not a whole bunch, but just slightly, and then the second one is layered up perfectly. Now I'm just trying to figure out how I want my layout to go, where I'm going to want my flowers and leaves, and so I'm going to do that before I make any commitments. That Hugs die has, you can see it has the little holes in it, and so on the other layers I started to poke the pieces out as well, and then I had one that had all but 1 or 2 pieces in there, and I decided to keep it because I was gonna blend on the top layer, and then I thought it would be a nice contrast to have the white behind it rather than having the paper show from the background. And you can see how many pieces I end up having left over, which was fantastic because now I have enough, since these cards are sent out, I have enough to send or to create a couple more cards with them. So I'm coming in on this first card with the Hibiscus Burst, and I am going to put that ink on this die pretty heavy. I want a really nice concentrated color. On the second card, I came in with the Winter Wisteria, and I used the Winter Wisteria to make the hugs a light purple color. Now I'm going to start layering these up. And I just, put the glue over the top of it. I made sure to get a nice piece in where one of the white pieces wasn't quite staying. And I'm just trying to line them up as straight as I can. I like to do this with my word dies. I like that, added dimension. Nothing else on the card is, well, I guess there's one little leaf that I end up popping up, but everything else is pretty much glued directly down, and so just having just that slight little pop is nice. This is part of that stamp set. It says sending, and there is not a die for this. I do take this over to my scan and cut, and so I am going to use the bright Buttercup to stamp that sentiment out, and then I'm going to stamp the second sentiment in Amethyst Allure. So here's where I haven't used this portion, so I am just priming it with my microfiber cloth. And, actually I'm going to stamp first with the Amethyst Allure. So I start with the Amethyst Allure. I'm going to stamp that a couple times. I will clean off my stamp, and then I will come back in with the bright Buttercup. And again, I take it over to my scan and cut, and I cut it out. And when I use my scan and cut, typically, not all the time, but typically, I will use a 0.4 border just to get a little bit of that white outline to match the rest of the stamps. And then after I finish this, it'll be time to start building my card. So I'm putting everything back together, and as you've probably seen before if you've been following me for a while, I am going to just build it from there. I will start lifting some pieces up, and I don't take everything off. I just lift pieces up and I start gluing. So I'll start with some of the leaves that are underneath and then work my way out. Papertrey Ink, as I said, has all of these products in stock, so I double-checked everything, and every little piece that's on here is available in their store. They are not creating new stamps. They have moved under a new name, which is Ink to Paper, and but they are still offering their Papertrey Ink stamps, and there's a plethora of catalog material for this company, and I just love it. I've been very happy, and I would never get rid of my Papertrey Ink stamps and dies, even if the company, decides not to manufacture their older products anymore. So now I'm gonna put down the hugs and the sending, and that will about finish my card. If you aren't a subscriber, I would love for you to click subscribe and like, and if you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. Leave them in the box below. I will be back after my vacation with some more videos, and I thank you so much for watching. I'm going to give you a final look of both of the cards, this one that I had finished, and then the second card that I did create after I lay this on a Nina Solar White 110-pound card base. Thanks so much for watching. Have a fabulous week. Bye-bye.